All right, so we're back and we're back reading Sugar Hill. And we are on chapter 1, part 2. And the last time that we were reading, the three of them, Flambe, Marie, and Ben, had stopped for the night to sleep. And that Flambe and Ben had gone out to eat. And they told Marie to fish. But Marie, of course, we are already understanding her character, and she doesn't fish. So she was really having a hard time fishing. But we kind of think that Ben and Marie like each other. Flambe just doesn't care. He's just ends justify the means, or no, means justify the ends type of person. He wants what he wants. He's gonna get it however he has to get it. But Ben is just a little bit nicer. So we're gonna move on to the second part. All right. The fish are done, he announced, interrupting the impromptu musicale. With a pair of wooden tongs confiscated from the native hut, he dished up the fish, two of each, on palmetto leaves. The three of them sat around the fire and began to eat with their fingers. Mmm, delicious, mumbled Ben, his mouth full of the savory fish. The other two nodded their heads in agreement. The fish were eaten quickly. Using the tip of the machete, Sheffield tested the conies. Done to a turn, he took them from the skewer and laid them on a flat rock, carving them deftly with the broad knife. "What part do you want, Marie?" She shook her head. "I don't think I want any. Come on, fill your stomach. We have a long journey ahead of us tomorrow morning. But it would be like eating a rat. It'll taste more like beef, I promise." "Try it, Marie," urged Ben. "It's fresh. It's not going to make you sick. Only your mind can make you sick." Marie gave in and accepted a small portion of the charred flesh. Gingerly, she lifted it to her lips. "It's good," she said, swallowing the meat. Sheffield threw back his head and laughed heartily. His red hair and beard danced about his head. And when did Flambe tell you something was good when it wasn't?" His words had a double meaning that was not lost on either Ben or Marie. That part shocked me a little bit. Ben gritted his teeth and continued eating. Marie looked away in embarrassment. Both, after the conies were stripped to the bones, Marie stood up and announced, "I wish to bathe." "The pond is rather chilly," said Ben. "It doesn't matter," replied Marie. "The night air is warm and will dry me quickly." She picked up one of the white fungi pulled from the soapwood tree and walked towards the edge of the pond. I looked up the soapwood tree, and it doesn't say anything about a soapwood tree coming from Jamaica. So I think that the author really did just make that up. But they do have like soap trees, and then soap. I think it was a soap wood or soap weed tree, and it's in Australia. Now, unless people from Australia, when they moved over, which I don't know when that happened, they came to Jamaica somehow, and they moved the soapwood tree over to Jamaica, and it grew there, but I didn't find it. So if anybody knows anything about a soapwood tree, I would really like to know. I shall bathe too, announced Sheffield. Who knows when we'll get another chance? Ben hurriedly scrambled to his feet. And I too. It's good you gathered plenty of soapwood, Marie, taunted Sheffield. We'll all be cleansed of this strenuous activity of the day. You mean you're going to bathe with me? She asked. And why not? Said the red-haired pirate. We've both been, we've both seen you nude before, and you've seen us. Besides, it would be foolish to take turns since the night is upon us, and we need as much sleep as possible. Marie undressed behind the great fan of ferns. Then she ran quickly towards the water and dove in. The two men watched the streak of woman flesh which with more than passing interest. They stripped out of their clothes and the clearing and quickly joined Marie in the pond. The cool water shocked their bodies and honed their senses. The water, green and clear, was as cut emerald, provided them with easy vision beneath the surface. They both saw Marie clearly. Her long, slender legs, her perfectly formed buttocks, and her full hips and narrow waist. Ben swam beneath the water toward Marie. Her heavy breast bobbed up and down as she swam. He stared at her neat, delicate rib cage and the deep navel and triangle of blonde hair somewhere. Um, he became he became a man. Both for both he and Sheffield had been in prison for several weeks and deprived of women. Sheffield surfaced before Ben. He came up to Marie and touched her lightly on the soft flesh of her shoulder. Let me use the soapwood, he said. She quickly handed him some natural cleanser and swam towards the waterfall. Ben, having caught his breath, dove beneath the surface once again and followed her. Marie disappeared in a patch of swaying underwater grass. Ben thought he caught a glimpse of her long blonde hair streaming across her face, her arms outstretched, beckoning him. He swam toward her, but became entangled in grass and snagged his leg and pulled him down. No longer able to hold his breath, he tore himself free and struggled to the surface, gasping for air. When his eyes cleared, he saw Marie sitting on a rock next to the falls. The clear water streamed down her naked body, and she was laughing. You're not a very good swimmer, she said breathlessly. I like to be on top of the water, not under it, Ben replied. Sheffield stayed in the center of the pond, scrubbing this body vigorously. The soapwood left a sweet scent on his flesh, making it tingle. There's a cave down there, said Marie. Where? There's a cave down there, said Marie. Where? Asked Ben. Just under the water. It must lead beneath the waterfall. Do you want to explore it? Are you daring me? Yes, replied Marie, laughing. She dove back into the water, cutting the surface neatly with her pale, voluptuous body. Ben followed suit, his face several feet from her kicking feet. He trailed behind her, hoping he could hold his breath as long as she could. He could see clearly the water was lit by something other than moonlight. Both of them headed towards the light, emerging in a large cave directly behind the falls. Oh, yeah, she's recording something. Those are my kids. I gotta find where I left off. All right. Both of them headed towards the light, emerging in a large cave directly behind the falls. They felt their way along the rough stone of the walls until they came to a flat surface where they pulled themselves out of the water. Ben helped Marie to her feet. "What's giving off the light?" she asked. Ben pointed towards the carved out sections in the walls. In there were in there were shallow bowls of oil. Lighted wicks floated on the surface. Ben picked up one of the lamps as they where moved to the center of the room where the earth had been beaten smooth. A large pole running from the floor to the roof of the cave marked the center of the cave. On the floor surrounding the pole was a geometric design, a large heart pierced with a knife. Cornmeal had been the artist's medium. "What is this place?" asked Marie. Ben spun around to face her, his eyes filled with dread. "My God, Marie, this place is a temple for voodoo worship." "Voodoo? You mean the native religion?" "Yes, and this must be their altar. And look at this, Marie." The top of the altar was strewn with jars of graveyard dust, rattles, bells, snake vertebrae, and amulets. A chill breeze from the outside hurried through the cave and caused them to shiver. "We'd best get out of here," said Ben gravely. "I really don't believe in this poppycock," Marie laughed. Suddenly her laugh froze in her throat. Her gasp was enough to attract Ben's attention. Lining the far edge of the cave and staring sightlessly at the two young people were human skulls. Ben held up the lamp and a scorpion crawled out of an eye socket. "Come on," he said, pulling Marie's hand. "Let's get out of here." They took a last look around the room and dove into the water, swimming to the edge of the pond where their journey had begun. Sheffield had finished bathing and was lying nude on his back on a bed of soft moss. His skin had been dried by the warm night air. "Well," Sheffield asked, getting up on one elbow, "where the devil have you been?" "There's a cave under there," gasped Ben. "It leads to a voodoo temple." "Really? And were you worshiping together?" "You're not funny, Flambe," said Marie. "I wasn't trying to be funny. Voodoo is best left alone. It isn't something for a white man to get involved with." "Then you believe in it?" asked Ben. "No, I don't believe in it, but I believe the natives believe in it. Therefore, it is something to be wary of." He lay back down and stretched out, showing off his muscular body. "Come on, we'll sleep now." He patted the moss next to him and nodded to Marie. She hesitated. "Come," he shouted. Marie, somewhat fearful of Sheffield, lay down beside him. He smiled and nodded to Ben, who lay down next to Marie. Abruptly, he announced, "I am Flambe, and therefore I shall be first." Without preamble, he rolled over on top of Marie, mounted her. Marie started to protest, but he clamped his great hand over her mouth. Ben turned away. He dug his hands into the moss, tearing up bits of it with his broad fingertips. So, Flambe pretty much just raped Marie because he felt like that's what he could do. And Ben didn't say anything about it. I wonder why he didn't say anything about it. But he obviously didn't like it. But they are all afraid of voodoo. Um, I don't know if voodoo is real. I don't do voodoo. I haven't heard good things about it. But it's interesting though. So that was the end of chapter 1. And next time I will start chapter 2. Bye.